Welcome to Moving Beyond. I'm Robert Spencer. In the last newsletter, I talked to you about the concept of resilience, and I'd like to continue that theme today, this time in the form of a book review. Now, it turns out there are a lot of books out there about the topic. It's pretty popular right now. Most of them are written by therapists of some sort, but this book is different. Eric Greitens is not a therapist. He's a former Navy SEAL. He was a Rhodes Scholar, has a PhD from Oxford. He's the founder of a service organization for military veterans called The Mission Continues. And they say on their webpage that they have assisted more than 4,500 veterans to attain a better adjustment to civilian life since leaving the service. So Greitens is a warrior philosopher. He combines what he's learned from the toughness and the rigors of his military experience with history, philosophy, mythology, even art and music. The format of the book is different too. Instead of just a treatise about it or a workbook, this is a series of letters that he wrote to a former SEAL cohort who was having very difficult times adjusting to civilian life. So there are a series of letters. They're written to a fellow who uses a fictitious name in this book of Zach Walker, and it's a very interesting way to present the material. Now I'll put the book cover on the screen for you in a moment, and you'll be able to get the data off of it. Meanwhile, I want to read from page 3 of the book, which is Greitens' definition of resilience and a short discussion about the topic. He says, resilience is the virtue that enables people to move through hardship and become better. From pain can come wisdom, from fear can come courage, from suffering can come strength, if we have the virtue of resilience. He's using the word virtue now in a classic Greek kind of Socratic philosophy sense. He goes on to write, of course, fear does not automatically lead to courage. Injury does not necessarily lead to insight. Pain can break us or make us wiser. Suffering can destroy us or make us stronger. Fear can cripple us or it can make us more courageous. It is resilience that makes the difference. Another difference in how Greitens approaches this topic is that he does not view resilience as elastic. Now, in many of the books, and in fact the American Psychological Association uses this word too, where they say resilience is bouncing back from adversity. And Greitens doesn't talk so much about bouncing back. He thinks this idea, this metaphor of elastic, doesn't really apply to human beings. So if you take a piece of elastic, you can stretch it into a different shape and it will bounce back to where it was. But people, we're not so elastic as that. You know, if you lose a limb, it doesn't grow back. If your child dies, they don't come back to life. If you break your back in an industrial accident, you may not ever be able to do that kind of work again. But Greitens goes on to say that if you're resilient, you set a positive trajectory that will build you a rewarding and purposeful life. Now, this life will probably be of a different form or have some different characteristics than what you had before the difficulty. But the resilient trajectory will produce and it will harvest learning, growth, and inner strength. Another different characteristic of his discussion on resilience is the emphasis on doing, which I guess you'd expect for somebody with his background. So he says, and I agree, that goals and plans, context, purpose, all of this is necessary. Understanding yourself is important, but nothing works without action. You have to produce and practice behavior change, even if it's in very small increments. You have to get going on that trajectory, even if it hurts, even if it's hard, even if you'd rather avoid it altogether. Now, my own experience in 3 decades of helping people change confirms that. You can have all the insight and all of the clarity you want, but if you won't get off your butt and get out the door, you're not going anywhere. So there are enough differences in this book to make it worth a read on the subject if you're interested in it. He's got a lot of ideas. One more point I need to make, though, is I found out very recently that Mr. Greitens has decided to throw his hat into the political arena. He wants to be the governor of Missouri. Now, I don't want the fact that I've reviewed his book or talked to you about him to be mistaken for an endorsement of his candidacy or any of his political views. You know, but he's an interesting guy. He's had a lot of interesting experience. I think he could bring a lot to the table in statewide office or even national office. But my hope for him is that he keeps focused on solving problems and on working with people rather than falling into the kind of political disarray that plagues the political system in the United States here in 2015. It would be nice if he doesn't convert himself into another ideological blowhard. We have plenty of that going on, and I'd love to see him bring his intelligence and his skills to the table to solve the problems, if that's how it works out. So that's enough on that. So I will see you next time. Until then, live long and prosper, my friends. We'll see you. Bye.